I'd like to talk sort of about my fears for the scope of the game, and it's sort of interesting. Early on, when I started doing my developer diary series, I talked a lot about my fears and my anxieties, and then I've talked a lot about the game, and I guess I haven't really delved into much about my fear and anxieties and things like that, except maybe more in the inner circle. Well, I guess I'd like to sort of give you an update. And one of the things I'm sort of scared about is the scope of the game. It's always a battle. With every game you work on, you have these ideas for a million levels and a million features, and then over time you sort of have to whittle it down. And one of the interesting aspects of the game, at least to me, and something that is important, something that I want to tackle, is the branching narrative. The problem is that the branching narrative is a huge increase in scope. Like, I mean, basically, it's essentially an exponential increase in scope. And when planning the game, I'm like, we'll have time, we'll figure it out, we'll make something work. And now I'm almost sort of kicking myself. While I really like what the idea, and I think we're going to do, something along those lines, I'm kind of worried that it's not really going to live up to the hype, which, I guess, to be fair, I think people are more excited about the game, for the other features, the mood, and the connection to my mental illness, but I'm sure there's some people excited to see what we'll do with branching narrative, and that's something I'm excited about, and I'm we're definitely still working towards it, but just in my own mind, I'm not sure it quite lives up to my dreams. I think in my original design document, I think I had like, 15 endings or something. Well, there were just ideas for endings, and some were pretty terrible. But, I was thinking, oh, we could maybe whittle it down to 8. And then, interestingly, the budget for Neverending Nightmares used to be more. We actually whittled it down a couple times, I think, to the point that what we made on Kickstarter with, even with the Free the Games fund, doesn't really quite cover everything, and so we, are doing some consulting, contracting things on the side to get more of a budget, which is always a challenge, juggling time. But I think to some extent we're art limited, which is sort of new for me because on Retrograde we did everything sort of the hard way, and so everything took so much programming effort. But on this game, I think that we have a lot of good tools and things. I think a lot of the content will, the amount of content will come down to, the amount of art hours. And so, yeah, the consulting will hopefully help offset some costs so I can increase the art budget. But I mean, I'm scared. I think, well, I think the content we're getting in there is really great, and I'm really pleased with how that's shaping out. But I think the amount of content, I'm always worried people won't be happy with the amount of content, which, is always a struggle. I mean, Retrograde, I think we went about it very poorly. because we built out the challenge mode, and there's 130 challenges, which are supposed to keep people entertained, but the campaign is just 10 levels and 10 songs, so we got a lot of flack for that. And I wish we would have, done something different with respect to that. Or, maybe make the challenge mode the main campaign, or frame it differently, or, reuse backgrounds and just do some new songs. I don't know. Certainly I have a lot of regrets with respect to Retrograde. Yeah, so, I don't know. Well, anyway, but yeah, I mean, it's always a thing, but for me, the quality of experience is more important than the playtime. And I think we're going to have a very high quality of experience, and I think that the playthrough will probably be, hour or two, maybe closer to two. And we'll have, I guess, branches, which will probably, add I don't know, maybe an hour or 2 or 3, well, no, probably 2 or 3 hours of additional content to explore all the branches and things like that. And, if you start your playthroughs from the beginning and then, try and find the branches, I'm sure it'll take longer, which, I mean, I'm not 100% happy with that, but to some extent, right, like, I don't want to end up in a situation with, like, Retrograde, where I just go overboard and keep working on the game until there's no way it could possibly turn a profit. And again, I think the content that we're making is really good. So I think we're on the right track. I think it's just the right track isn't exactly the track I planned, which I think is probably always the case in game development, but it's hard for me to reconcile that. I feel, a little guilty, like maybe I overpromise things, which of course is always the trouble with Kickstarter or game development in general, because you really don't know in what direction development will take you. If people say, this is what my game's going to be, before they're finished or when they're in the early stages, they're almost always going to be wrong, because you sort of have to figure out, what's good about your game and what's working and what isn't, and sort of roll with that. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's tough, just because my dreams of the game are always so much bigger than what we can accomplish, and then with Kickstarter, people are buying into the dream, and I really worry that maybe I'm oversold the branching aspect of the game. Maybe we'll see. I mean, I think we'll come up with something interesting, and I just don't think it's going to be quite as significant as it was in my mind, and whether my sort of visions of how big it would be were communicated, or whether people will be happy with that. I mean, I think in general the game's going to be scary as all hell, so I think that's the main sort of check mark. And so the fact that maybe the branching narrative isn't the most revolutionary thing in the world. I mean, certainly in my mind I'm like, we're going to revolutionize games, it's going to be amazing and new, and I mean, it'll be cool, but at least in my mind I think it was, I really didn't, put two and two together and see how difficult it would be to deliver on that. So, yeah, I mean, I guess I was about to end it there, but I guess, at least in my mind, I was thinking, a lot of the branching narratives would sort of be remixes of existing content. And I just, I mean, we've sort of done that. I mean, we've sort of experimented with that, but I think, you know, without a significant amount of new content, the levels aren't overly interesting. I mean, you know, I thought we'd have like building blocks and we could reassemble them in different ways, which is sort of how we're approaching the art. But I was thinking, you know, that without a lot of new input, we could create something new and amazing. And certainly when we have more content, perhaps we can. But I think you know, it's not going to be as easy as I planned. But that's the way it goes, and I think the final product is still going to be, you know, really awesome. So fingers crossed. Certainly, I'm nervous about it, but I'm a pretty nervous person, so that's no surprise.